Hello and welcome to another Canguro English Daily Digest. My name is Christian and today is Thursday. Best day of the week. And today I'm going to try and tell kind of a little bit of a story and try and link together all of the things that I want to talk about today. So let's see if I can do it in 10 minutes. And I want to start by telling you a joke. Okay, so an Englishman and an Irishman, they go into a bakery and they're very poor, these two people. They don't have any money. So the Englishman says to the Irishman, "Watch this, I'm going to steal some bread." So he walks around and puts a small bun in his pocket, and then another one, and then when the baker isn't looking, he gets one final one. So he's got these three buns in his pockets, and he says, "Did you see that? The baker didn't see me at all. Come on, let's go." And the Irishman says, No. I'm going to show you how you can steal 3 pieces of bread without any tricks, doing it in a completely honest way." And the Englishman says, "Ah, okay." So the Irishman goes up to the baker and he says, "I want to show you a magic trick." And the baker says, "Oh yeah, okay." And the Irishman says, "Here, give me 3 pieces of bread." So the baker gives him 3 pieces of bread, and the Irishman picks it up and eats it. And then picks up the second one and eats that too. And then the third one and eats it. And then he stands there. And the baker says, "Well, hang on a minute, where's the magic trick?" And the Irishman says, "Look in the Englishman's pockets." Oh my God, English and Irish. And this brings me directly onto today's word of the day, which is loaf. Loaf. Now, what's really interesting about loaf is the way that history has treated this word. Okay? So, in English, the word for bread is uncountable. You cannot say, "I have 2 breads or 3 breads," right? We need something to use to count bread, and the word we use is a loaf. A loaf is like a specific kind of, like the white bread, that's a loaf of bread. Now, the Old English word that this comes from was hlaf. So it's H-L-A-F, hlaf. Okay? And you can see that the sound is very similar, loaf, hlaf. Okay? Now here's the interesting thing. Halaf was originally the Old English word for bread. Halaf and bread, loaf and bread were actually the same thing. And you can find this word halaf hidden in a lot of modern English words. For example, the word Lord. So you have the Lord, or Lord of the Rings. Well, this actually came from the Old English word hlafward. Hlafward, which meant the ward, the guardian of the hlaf. Literally, a lord means the protector of the bread. So, Lord of the Rings is the bread protector of the rings. And you can hear how hlafward got kind of condensed. Hlafward got condensed into Lord. Okay, and the word lady comes from exactly the same root. Okay, so really interesting. And what this also tells us is about the importance of bread in society in general. There was a Roman poet called Juvenal, and he said that he was disappointed with society. You know, this is back in, I think, 1200, or maybe even earlier. He was disappointed with society because the people, they only wanted bread and circuses, which basically means they don't care about being ambitious or wanting things. All they want is bread and entertainment. Now, bread is like a metaphor for food in general, right? And you will find bread or similar things to bread in everywhere in the world. So, you know, like in the Indian subcontinent, you have kind of like flat breads. You know, you move across into the Middle East and you have, you know, round kind of flat breads, and you know, obviously in Europe we have this tradition of more kind of like, you know, big breads. You know, all over the world there's bread. Bread is it's the most primitive and most important type of food. Now, I'm not telling this story for no reason. So, apart from bread, what else is a really primitive kind of thing? Well, if we think back to like early man, maybe you think about sort of a caveman, you know, like a Neanderthal, and he's got tools, right? Maybe he's got a rock and he's kind of, I don't know, cutting up some fruit, or maybe even he's scratching his name in the wall of a cave, right? So we have this kind of really basic human necessity for food and water and shelter, and also expression, right? Expression. Now, to express yourself, you need some type of tool, and that's what I want to talk about. So there's this amazing paper. This was published on the 16th of July, so just very recently, and it's called Language as a Tool, Motor Proficiency Using a Tool Predicts Individual Linguistic Abilities. So what they did was they had volunteers with this kind of task with a tool. So the people had to use tweezers, not scissors, tweezers, and there was 3 levels of difficulty. So the first level was these big kind of pegs, and they had to insert them into a board, just exactly like this. Exactly like this, okay? The next level of difficulty, the pegs were smaller, so it was more difficult to manipulate the pegs. And the third level of difficulty, the pegs were tiny and you had to insert them and twist them. So we're talking about going from a very basic tool use to a more complicated tool use. And here's the crazy thing, okay? Here's the crazy thing. They discovered that there is a direct correlation between your ability to use a tool, how fast you are to use a tool, and your ability to create complex sentences. The brain uses exactly the same kind of mechanisms to manipulate real objects as it does to manipulate words in language. And what it tells us is that language is just a part of being human as bread and water and tools. And that's another great reason to learn a language, because it is so deeply human. And I hope that this weird kind of story that I've just told just helps you to realize how important language is. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's Daily Digest. I'm Christian, this is Canguro English, and I'll see you in class.